Now that we've created our first page, before I do anything else, I'm going to show you a couple of things that we can do here within our document window. And these couple of options I'm about to show you are designed to make your life easier when you are editing your page, in that Dreamweaver provides a couple of tools that indicate how a particular element on your page has been constructed. So I'm going to show you these two functions, Code Navigator and Code Inspector. I'll leave that for the moment, only because I want to show you something else first. And what it is that I'm about to walk through is an option that you might want to switch on or switch off. I'll show you what it is so you can decide. Come up to your View option on your menu bar, and then roll right down here to where it says Toolbars. And then you'll see the flyout here, and we have two further options. At the moment we've got Document with the check mark next to it, meaning that that is already displayed. But just underneath we've got that further option, Standard. Well, if I check this, we now see here within our document window that we have these further buttons. In fact, we have this group of buttons that facilitates opening up a new document simply by clicking on this first button. Consequently, this opens our new document window. At the moment, of course, I don't want to create a new document, so I'll run down here and click on Cancel. But running along next to this, you'll also see that we could open a document simply by choosing this second button. Now you might be wondering, what's the point of this button here? Why would we want to open up a document by using this button rather than using our file panel? Well, it might be that the document you want to open isn't part of your web folder, i.e. you might have a text file in the form of a Word document somewhere else on your drive that you want to open and maybe copy and paste some of the text from that into your document here. Well, by using this button here allows you to quickly navigate to it. Moving along, you'll see we've got a Save and a Save All button, also a Cut button, and Copy and Delete, and we have an Undo and a Redo button. Now, as I say, you decide whether this panel group is useful to you. The only drawback with it like this is you are robbed of a little bit more of your screen real estate. However, we now know that this isn't really a problem. If we want to move this, simply left-click on the gripper here, and those dots there at the left. You can just about see them at this screen resolution. Well, grab that, left-click, and drag the panel group over here, and then once you deselect, you'll now see that this panel group now resides on the same line as all those other buttons to the left, our Code, Split, Design, and Live buttons. Thus, we reclaimed that real estate that we just lost. This is only on Windows. You won't be able to move this if you're on a Mac. Now with that done, let's look at these tools I was talking about a few moments ago. We'll start off with the Code Navigator. I'll come up to my View option on my menu and run right down to the bottom where it says Code Navigator. Now once I select this in a moment, wherever my cursor is at the present time, you'll see a box open up, and within that content box will be the related HTML that links up with the particular element at which my cursor is. So I'll click it now, and there you can see what I'm just referring to. As my cursor is placed here, we now see when I roll my mouse over here, this index.html file is referred to, but within that we see we have one tag, body. And when I roll the cursor over body, we'll see the attributes that are part of this body tag, i.e. we can see that the font is set at 100%, 1.4, with those particular fonts, these web-safe fonts, being the fonts that will display. We also see our background color referenced there as a hexadecimal number, and we also see margin, padding, and color at the bottom there. Let's try this somewhere else. I'll move my cursor down here. So if I locate it right at the beginning of the word be, at the start of this sentence within this paragraph, and then once more come up to View and roll down to our bottom option, Code Navigator. Do notice also here on Windows that this is the shortcut, Ctrl plus Alt plus N. If you are on a Mac, the keyboard shortcut would be Command Option N. Therefore, when I do select Code Navigator now, our content box opens up once more, and within here now we see all the descending or related files and further related tags in terms of body, container, header, content, etc. We see all these tags here. And of course, once more rolling over any of these displays the attributes for that particular tag. You'll also notice all these different tags feature down here horizontally as well. Therefore, even before you start building your site, or perhaps should I say, before you start adding content to our layout that we've already implemented, then by going through like this and searching around and looking at various elements, we get to understand quite quickly all the different elements, all the different tags and related HTML or CSS files that are used to build up that particular element. And to be honest, I find this particular function absolutely invaluable. Let's try it once more. I'll place my cursor over here now in our right-hand sidebar. However, this time, to call open our code navigator, I'm going to use that shortcut that I pointed out a moment ago. Here on Windows, it's Control plus Alt plus N. As I've said before, the keyboard shortcut would be Command Option N if you are on Mac. Therefore, once you do use this shortcut, our code navigator, as expected, opens up once more. Right then, so that's the Code Navigator. Let's look at another related tool, the Code Inspector. And we find the Code Inspector by coming up to Window on our menu and then rolling down here to Code Inspector. Notice the shortcut here on Windows is F10. On a Mac, it's Option F10. And once you select this, then this Code Inspector panel opens up. At the moment it's a floating panel. We could dock this if we want to. I'm not going to. But you'll notice straight away that there is a fundamental difference between this Code Inspector and the Code Navigator that we saw a moment ago. The Code Navigator does allow us to inspect the code, but focused on a particular element. Whereas here, with our Code Inspector, this opens up all the code within our page. Do notice we have these buttons running across here, in particular the last one. If we click on here, then what you can do is you can activate the second option, line numbers. I'll select it. I find this quite useful because now, vertically running down the left-hand side there, we see the line number for our code within this page. Although, to be honest, it's not that necessary, as I'm going to show you in a second. For example, if I move my cursor to the top of the code, up to here, line 2, and then move my cursor over onto our design, and I'll go back to where we were a moment ago on our right-hand sidebar, and once I place my cursor at the same position just before by, then we will immediately jump to that line of code within our Code Inspector. I'll do it now. Okay, there you go. We now jump to line 176, although we don't really need to know it's line 176 because our cursor placed there in the design view also moves to the exact same place there just before the word by. Incidentally, you won't see that sort of brownish coloured background there. That's something I've added in simply to help you understand how this works a little bit better. That sort of sandy coloured background colour there is simply to mirror the colour that is being used at the moment in our right-hand sidebar. Let's try this somewhere else. To make it a little bit easier to see, I'm going to move my Code Inspector over here. So I'll left click on the panel and drag it over here. And now I'm going to come over here to where it says Instructions. Once I place my cursor at the beginning of Instructions, well, we know what's going to happen. We are immediately going to jump to that particular place within our Code Inspector. I'll do it now. Okay, as predicted, there it is. Let's try it one final time. I'm going to come over to the navigation here on our left-hand side, and I'll click within our top link, link number 1, and as expected, we now get taken to that particular line within our Code Inspector. Now once more I've coloured the background within the Code Inspector simply to mirror our left-hand column here. Now even though I said that would be the last example, let me just click on the logo just above because I want to show you also how this applies within our Code Inspector, in that it's not just reliant on selecting text. So by clicking this logo now at the top left here, we now get taken to line 141 and the particular code is highlighted for us over there in our Code Inspector. Right then, I'm going to finish here now that we've seen 2 or 3 options here within our document window.